London AIM-listed Seeing Machines, which specialises in non-contact head and eye tracking systems with agreements across many sectors, including mining, transport and aviation, has produced full-year earnings which show a 20% rise in turnover to a record, and that it's forecast to deliver its first driver monitoring product for the automotive industry in the current fiscal year. Ken Kroeger is the Chief Executive and he joins us now. Ken, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, first of all, on this announcement about the automotive industry, because this is something a lot of investors have been keen on, some sort of an announcement, and now here we have it. It's going to be out there this year.
Yeah, we expect the first manufacturer to launch a product at the Los Angeles Auto Show and the car to become available shortly after that.
There was much rumour about who the agreement's going to be with. I know if I can look back to an FT article, it was General Motors, there have been other companies that have been rumoured. Any comment or confirmation or otherwise?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think we're a Tier 2 supplier, so the contract is with a Tier 1, Takata, and the automotive manufacturer, so we can't really reveal who the companies are. What we can say, though, is that we have a program in place that helps the manufacturers understand how our technology works. We put it in their hands. They can install it in their cars. They can move it around, assess its performance, learn more about how they want to use it, interact with us directly as opposed to Takata. And right now we're working, we used to say talking to 13 manufacturers. Now we can say we're actively engaged with 13 automotive manufacturers.
Well, that's an interesting point. I think that's picked up by a number of IG clients, the fact that you've got these discussions ongoing with OEMs. And the question was, are you going to announce anything more? But that really turns it around the other side, doesn't it? Because you're waiting for them to make the announcement.
Correct. I think people are just going to have to be patient and wait to see it come in the car. But it used to be a question of if this would ever happen. Now it's really a question of when. Mm-hmm. And right now there's at least 6 or 7 manufacturers that plan to launch driver monitoring as part of their vehicles between now and 2021.
How big, potentially, how big is this? This is off the scale, isn't it, for a minnow like Seeing Machines?
It really is. There are very few players that do what we do, and we firmly believe, and this is being confirmed by the manufacturers and by other Tier 1s, that right now we have a leadership position. We have something special that other companies don't, and it's really how people are going to apply it. It was originally seen as the entry point for one of the features to support semi-autonomous modes of operation, but already as people have discovered what that can do and what it can do and the value it can add in the vehicle as a platform, people are starting to see how it can be applied for comfort and convenience as well as a number of safety features in the car.
Yeah. The auto show that it's released at is in Los Angeles, you say. And when is that?
I believe it's January, the end of January.
Right, okay. We'll look out for some announcements then. Let's pick up on a couple of other points that have been mentioned. The aviation industry is going well, isn't it? So that's something else you've got further progress on.
We have an alignment with Boeing, and there, I guess, probably about 3 months ago now, we installed a solution into a simulator, a full motion Class D simulator. That means that a pilot can fly that simulator and get accreditation in an airplane without ever flying the real plane. And that's now gathering data and helping people assess training capability and pilot capability in a simulator, and we expect that to start expanding. We've got 2 more solutions lined up, one for Dubai and one for Seattle this calendar year.
How quickly do these things move? And once you get it into a simulator, obviously the next big thing is getting it into the cockpit of a flying aircraft.
It is, and I think the first pass will be for training. So the world is facing a critical pilot shortage over the next 15 years, and the manufacturers, the aircraft manufacturers, realize that without pilots there's not a big demand for planes. So we're working with them to really change the way people train to fly a plane, and already we have strong interest from at least 5 major airlines, global airlines.
What about the fleet business now, as that's also progressing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We had a very expensive product that we were selling to mining. The fleet industry wanted it. Some companies that were hauling dangerous goods that had higher margins could afford it, but there was a strong sentiment that they wanted a lower cost product to be able to put it into more vehicles. And with the downturn in mining last year, we realized we had to do something to start generating more revenue, and we built a lower cost derivative of the mining product, and that's been taken up quite quickly. So we've now have I think we've probably sold about 1,000 of those, and South Africa about 650 of them going onto the road. In Australia probably 250 to 400 units, and then some trials with some really big brands around the world.
You mentioned mining. Of course, this is one of the big things that you were famous for originally, just getting out there in the big trucks for the mining industry. You mentioned the downturn. Obviously that's going to hit, but there's a new phase, isn't there, with Caterpillar, because you've got this. You've released the product basically, haven't you?
Correct. So we've grown the business through that mining industry. We've learned a lot. We engaged with Caterpillar about 3 years ago, a 4-phase relationship, and that was always with Cat Global Mining. But over the last probably 8 or 9 months, we've been working with Cat Corporate, the parent company, and that's now been taken over. So I guess you could say that Caterpillar has bought the rugged off-road business from Seeing Machines. So there's a lump sum, $17.5 million US of cash front-loaded over the next 2.5 to 3 years. And then an ongoing royalty stream from the sales of both the hardware from Cat corporate to the Cat dealers, as well as the services that back end the product into the field.
That is in perpetuity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But if there's an upturn again in mining and Caterpillar start to roll it out in far more, does that mean more money for
It does, but I think the reason we've done this is that it's not just mining anymore, so it's across all fields of operation. So you have heavy and light construction, cement and quarry, paving, forestry, and so it's a much, much broader footprint. You know, they're estimating the mining business was always targeting about 150,000 vehicles, where now we're targeting about 3 million vehicles around the world, instead through 165 dealers instead of just the mining-centric dealers.
Right. Just want to return to some of the questions. Let me just quickly ask about Samsung. This is something which comes up from a number of clients. They're saying it's gone very quiet. Now, I know the Samsung deal originally, I think, was last September, wasn't it, where you had this memo of understanding, I think, didn't you? This is for the consumer electronics business.
It is. I think, you know, we've always tried to help people understand that, you know, it's going to be a lot of years before this is in a phone or a tablet. Right now, the power consumption would drain a battery, so we're all waiting for battery technology to advance, and that's still probably a few years away. But Samsung is interested in what we do, not only because of consumer electronics. You know, it's a much more diverse company, and right now, of all things, we're actually working with them in the automotive sector. So they have, at one point until about 6 years ago, they actually manufactured a car for parts of Asia. And now they're trying to look at channels to bring their consumer electronics components into vehicles, as are a lot of other consumer electronics companies. So we're working with them more on the automotive front than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it is quite active.
Just want to quickly return to the numbers. I said at the top you had a 20% increase in your revenue, and that was to take it to a record. What are the projections from here? How happy do you feel sitting where you're sitting?
Yeah, I guess, to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in last year's performance. I think the mining industry, you know, everybody knows what went on there. And the first year, really, our sales were very poor in the first half, strong in the second half. I hope to see that continue, and that Caterpillar really capitalizes on having access to our solution. But we do understand that there will be a year of transition, you know, before they're up and running full strength. But behind that, we've got the fleet product, so we're really investing heavily in getting the fleet product to market directly. So we're, you know, combined with the revenue from Caterpillar, I think this will be a pretty good year.
And again, a client was asking specifically about the funding of the business. Does the Caterpillar income and what you've got in the bag already mean that you're now fully funded, or do you have to come back to the market?
It does. No, it gives us quite an extensive runway now.
Yeah, okay. On that runway from here on in, what's in your intro? Where do you go from this? What's your next priority? Yeah,
I think you know, the fleet product is critical to us for short-term revenue because it's the only thing we're selling today. But I think we'll see some rapid growth in the aviation sector over the next 18 months. And really, it's all hands on deck for the automotive sector. You know, we have about 23 engineers working on that project today, or the projects, and really getting it into the hands of as many manufacturers as possible and helping them understand how they can deploy this quickly and at low risk.
What keeps you awake at night? Because we've got a lot of global risk out there. China is one of the things. A lot of the participants in the equity markets worrying about the fact the Fed left interest rates unchanged because they know something we don't potentially about the global economy.
I think you know, what's nice, our product is really seen as a safety critical product, and really educating the global fleet business, especially in North America where the fleets are massive, and help them understand what we can offer them, how we can help improve their business and their bottom line through safety.
Well, look, it's a pleasure, Ken. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for updating us on what's happening at Seeing Machines. That's Ken Kroeger there from Seeing Machines, where he's Chief Executive.